Ever felt like you were stuck in a never-ending loop, repeating the same task over and over again? Well, in the world of programming, loops are here to save the day. They allow you to automate repetitive tasks, making your code more efficient and less tedious. Loops solve this problem by allowing you to define a block of code and the set of rules for how many times it should execute. In this video, we will dive into each type of loop, exploring how they work and when to use them. We will explore for loop, while loop and do while loop with hands-on examples. Now, before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any update. So loops in Java. Imagine you have a task to do something multiple times, like printing numbers from 1 to 5. Now, instead of writing system.out.println 1, system.out.println 2, and so on 5 times, a loop will help you do that in a cleaner and faster way. In programming, a loop is a way to repeat a block of code until a certain condition is no longer true. This is super helpful when you want to perform repetitive tasks without having to manually write out each action. Some of the common types of loops include for loop, while loop, and do while loop. All of these loops are essential for tasks like counting, iterating over collections, etc. So these was I repeat. So this was about loops in Java. Now let's first start by understanding the for loop. So a for loop in Java is used to repeat a block of code multiple times. It's one of the most common ways to control repetition in programming. The loop lets you decide how many times the code should run, giving you flexibility and control. The for loops works by following 3 main steps. So the first thing inside the condition of for loop is the initialization. So the initialization is where you set up the starting point of the loop. You define a variable, often called a counter, and assign it an initial value. This step establishes where the loop will begin. The next is condition. So the loop continues to execute as long as specific condition remains true. This condition is checked before each iteration. If the condition is false, the loop stops running. Then there is updation or update. After each iteration, the loop control variable, that is the counter, is updated. This usually involves changing the variable's value to move closer to meeting the condition for the loop to stop. So this update can be incrementing, decrementing, or some other modification of the variable. So this structure allows you to run the loop a set number of times and ensures that the loop stops once the condition is no longer true. A for loop is especially useful when you know ahead of time how many times you need to repeat something. Alright, so as we can see on the screen, so there's a for loop syntax. First there is initialization, condition, and then updation. And inside the for loop there's a block which is to be executed based on the condition. Alright, so to understand the for loop better, let's do a simple example. So let's go to our code editor. Alright, so this is our Eclipse. Here we will be doing an example in which we will calculate the sums from, let's say, 1 to 10. Alright, we'll calculate the sum of numbers from 1 to 10. So first thing first, public static void main. Alright, after this, first of all we will decide to initialize a variable. That variable will be sum. So we have to calculate the sum. So we have initialized the variable sum with 0 as of now. So it's our choice. But for this case, as we have to do the summation of all the numbers, we have to initialize the value as 0 as in the starting. Alright, now we will use a for loop. Now this is the initialization condition, that is int I equals to 0. Here I have used int with I because we haven't initialized I before, so here we can also initialize it. Alright, int I equals to, let's say, 1. So this loop is starting from 1. Then there is the second, that is the condition, as we mentioned earlier. Here I less than equal to 10 because we have to do the sum till 10. So we want to include 10 also, that is why it is less than equal to 10. So the loop will move from 1 to 10. Alright, now the next thing was updation. Alright, so as we mentioned earlier, first is initialization, that is this part. Then there is condition, that is this part, and then there is updation, that is this part. So what this loop will do, this is the basic syntax of it. So initialization part is saying that I will run from 1, condition is I will run till 10, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And how it will move from 1 to 10? Through this incrementing operator. So basically this updation will take place after each repetition or each iteration. Alright. Once the loop will go, then another loop will go, then like this it will go on, the complete cycle will repeat 10 times. Now, sum is the variable that we declared. Sum equals to sum plus I. Alright. So sum equals to sum plus I. Why we are doing this? I'll let you know. Like the first thing first is we have to add all these numbers to each other. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, like that. So initially the value of sum is 0. So here it is 0. Now first 1 will come, as 1 is less than 10. So 1 plus 0, 1 will be stored here. Then 2 will come, 1 plus 2, then the sum will be stored here, like that. So it will keep on repeating and the total sum will be stored in this sum. I'll let you guys understand in further explanation also. So let's do this first. As we can see, after the complete summation thing will happen, the sum is happened, then what we'll have to do is outside this loop. So you guys have noticed the loop is from here to here, right? Outside this loop we'll have to print ln. Here we will print sum, but before that we have to use string also. Sum is, let's say, now we will use the plus operator and sum variable. Alright, now it will print the total sum. Alright, now let's save it and try to run this. Sum is 55. So now if you'll calculate the sum from 1 to 10, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, like that, the total sum would be 55, which is correct. Now let me tell you, if some of you guys have not understand it how it is working, then let me tell you. First of all, this, as we can see, this sum equals to 0. This line sets up a variable called sum and start it at 0. This variable will be used to keep the track of the total as we add numbers together. Okay. Now then comes the for loop. As we can see, this is the for loop. This is the basic syntax of it we discussed earlier. So the for loop, first I is starting from 1. This is the initialization. This part is initialization. Then it checks if it's reached 10 yet or not. So as we know, 1 is less than 10. So it is not reached 10 yet. So yeah, we can go forward like that. If it hasn't reached 10 yet, it continues. So this is the condition part. Alright. It will keep on going. This loop will keep on going until it matches with 10. After 10, let this 11, it will not print that. Alright. So this is the basically condition part. Then after checking the condition, the I counts up to the next number. This is the incrementing thing. So this is what moving the thing basically. So I will count up to the next number. So if it is at, let's say 1, it goes to 2. This is the updation part basically. Incrementing part or the updation parts. Not necessary, we can also use decrementation operator also, but we are not using it. This is basically, if we'll have to say, this is the updation part. Alright. So after checking, the I counts to the next number. So this is the updation part, as I told you. While I is counting, it's also adding each number to a total. As we know, this is adding each number to a total. Here I is 1, then I will come 2, 3, 4, 5. It is basically adding each number to the total sum. So this is what sum equals to sum plus I is doing. So the sum equals to sum plus I means it's like adding each number to a bucket. I keeps doing this until it reaches 10. Then it stops because it's finished counting. After the loop has finished running, when I is no longer less than or equal to 10, this line will print out the final value of sum, showing the total sum of the numbers from 1 to 10. Alright, this is that simple. So as we know that initially the value of sum was 0, then here the loop runs, the value of I is 1. So 0 plus 1 equals to 1. So the value now of sum is 1. Then the loop will run again for 2. Now 2 is there, so 1 is there. 1 plus 2 equals to 3. It will add up to that. Then 3 will come. Now this is 3 and this is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Like that it will come to there. So this is basically the working of it. Alright. So this is the first example of for loop. Alright. This is pretty basic example. You have to try this example also. Then only you'll be able to go for the intermediate examples. You'll have to do at least 5 to 6 examples of basic one. Then you can try for the bit advanced examples, if I can say. All right, now let's do a bit complex example than this one, which is Fibonacci series. All right, I hope you guys know what is Fibonacci series. It's like the number is the sum of the preceding two numbers. Like, let's say if I have a number, like let's say 5, it will be the sum of the previous two numbers, that is 2 plus 3. So the sequence is 2, 3, 5, like that. Normally the Fibonacci series starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 5, like that it moves on. So if you guys know about it, I hope you guys know about it. If you guys didn't know about it, so you can just Google it and then you'll get to know. It is often asked in interviews, and while cracking for interviews, this Fibonacci series and other examples like factorial thing is being asked repeatedly. So I think you guys have to know this Fibonacci series. So now let's do an example of Fibonacci series. All right, so let's remove this again. Yeah, we'll start again. We'll type public static void main. It's a good practice. You can write again and again. String arguments. All right, now inside it, first of all, here we want to print at least 10 Fibonacci series numbers. All right. So by the time I think that you guys have understood what is Fibonacci series. If you haven't understood, just Google it Fibonacci series and it will give you the Fibonacci series. You guys will understand the number is each number of the Fibonacci series should be the summation of the previous two numbers. That's it. That is the proper definition of it. All right. So this way the whole series is there. So we are going to print that series for the first 10 numbers. Okay. All right. So first of all, we have to declare two variables. Let's say fib1 and 2. In this case, we have to declare the variable as fib1 and fib2 because the Fibonacci series usually starts from 0 and 1. Okay. So the first two numbers we have to assume, that is 0 and 1. And it should be 0 and 1 itself. No other number should be there. Fibonacci numbers, first two numbers is 0 and 1. Okay. Now, the thing is, here we again have to use the for loop. So this is what we are doing with the for loop. We'll start from 0, int I equals to 0. All right. Int I equals to 0. This is the initialization part. Then I less than 10. This is the condition part. I plus plus, this is the updation part. So here what we are saying to the for loop. So we are starting the for loop from I equals to 0. Then I should be less than 10. So the loop will keep on iterating till I is less than 10. That is I equals to 9. Now I plus plus. After each iteration, a number will be increased. All right. So this is the updation part where we are incrementing it. All right. Now let's print first of all system.out.println. Here we want to print fib1, that is the variable name. Then let's keep a space after this. All right. So this is you'll get to know why we are doing this, to add some space in between. So yeah. Now let me do the summation of two numbers and then storing it to the temporary variable. Let me do this and then I'll let you guys understand what I'm doing. Int temporary variable, and we are storing fib1 plus fib2, the summation of fib1 and fib2. Fib1 equals to fib2, we are assigning it. Then we are back assigning the value of temp to the fib2. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm doing. But for those people who are not understanding yet, do not worry, we'll make you understand. All right. All right. So let me start with the first thing. So this example basically calculates the first 10 Fibonacci numbers. So Fib1 and Fib2 are initialized to 0 and 1 respectively, and the loop will run 10 times as I is less than 10, as we already mentioned. Alright, in each iteration the current value of Fib1 is printed. Okay, so here we are printing Fib1. In each iteration the current value of Fib1 is printed. Then we calculate the next Fibonacci number by adding Fib1 and Fib2. Alright, so this result is stored in a temporary variable that we mentioned, temp. Fib1 is updated to the value of Fib2, moving to the next number, and Fib2 is updated to the temporary variable. So this is pretty simple. Fib1 and Fib2 are two variables. Their sum is getting assigned to temp variable. Now the value of Fib2 is assigned to Fib1. Alright, now Fib2 becomes empty. Now the summation of these both, we are assigning it to Fib2 again. Why we are doing this? Because this is the way to write the complete sequence of Fibonacci series. Again, Fib1 is updated to the value of Fib2, moving to the next number, and Fib2 is updated to the temporary variable, the new Fibonacci number. First, it will print Fib1 equals to 0, then Fib1 becomes 1 and Fib2 becomes 1, since 0 plus 1 equals to 1. Alright. Next, it prints Fib1 equals to 1, then Fib1 becomes 1 and Fib2 becomes 2, that is 1 plus 1, 2. This process continues until we print the first 10 Fibonacci numbers. Alright, that is 0 plus 1, that is 1, then 1 plus 1, that is 2, then 2 plus 1 equals to 3, then 3 plus 2 equals to 5, then 5 plus 3 equals to 8. So this is the Fibonacci series. So we are basically adding the previous two numbers, and the addition, the sum of those two previous two numbers, we are printing it to the third number. Like that we are moving. Alright, I hope you guys understand. If you want to understand it better, you can go through this example again and try this example on your own. Then only you will be able to particularly grab what I am telling you right now. And this is how you practice actually. Alright, so give it a shot, try the Fibonacci number, don't underestimate yourself, give it a shot, you can do that. Alright, next is while loop that we have to understand. So let's understand while loop. While loops. So while loop is just another way to repeat a block of code multiple times. But instead of running a set number of times like in a for loop, it keeps running as long as a condition is true. Think of it as giving the computer a rule to follow. Keep doing this task as long as the condition is met. So the loop keeps checking the condition over and over, and if the condition is still true, the computer runs the instructions again. If the condition becomes false, the loop stops and the computer moves on to the next part of the program. So this was about the while loop, and now let's understand its syntax. So as you can see on the screen, while and then there is a condition. So there is no updation, no condition, no initial phase. But yeah, while loop is a bit different from for loop. So the condition inside the parenthesis first is evaluated. Then if the test expression or condition is true, the code inside the body of the loop is executed. After executing the code, the condition is evaluated again. So the loop will keep running as long as the condition or test expression is true. So when the test expression or condition becomes false, the loop stops and the program moves on to the next part of the code after the loop. It is as simple as that. Alright. So this condition should be true, then only the loop will keep on running. Alright. Now to understand this while loop better, let's do some examples. Alright. Let's get back to the Eclipse. Alright. So we are back on Eclipse. Now let's do an example of while loop. Again, public static void main string arguments. So here we have initialized a variable and assigned it a value of 1. So this is a counter variable basically. So in this example, what we are doing is, here the loop will run 5 times, printing the value of count each time. Alright. So this is what this simple example will do. Now let's write a while loop in which count is less than equal to 5, because we want to run it 5 times. So that is why less than equal to 5. So 5 is included basically. Alright. Now here this is the part which is inside the loop. Here we want to print it system.out.println. Here inside we are printing it because we want to repeat it 5 times. We want to print something 5 times. Alright, if we have to do the sum, then we'll print it outside, but here we want it to print 5 times. That is why we are printing it inside of the loop. Alright, so don't get confused. Now count is, here we'll use press operator and count variable. Alright, so here we are printing it, and then the updation, that is the increment thing, count plus plus, because we want the loop to keep on running, right? So we'll have to use count plus plus, that is the increment operator. So this is basically the counter. We have initialized it with 1. So the loop says it will keep on running till the value of count is less than equal to 5. So loop will run for 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, that's it. If it becomes 6, then it will not run because the condition is not met. Alright, and how it is moving forward with the help of this count plus plus. So basically, if you want to see, this is the initialization part, this is the updation part, and the condition is here. So yeah, it is a bit different from for loop, but it is also used for different purposes. Yeah, there are some times where you can use for loop and while loop also, but it depends at your convenience. Alright, so this is the updation part as we already discussed. Now, for those who haven't understand, this is the counter variable. The loop will run till count is less than equal to 5. So the while loop will continue executing as long as the value of count is less than or equal to 5. So system.out.println, we know that it is used for printing it, and count is count like we wrote here. So this will print the current value of count to the console. So first 1 is there, so it will print 1, then 2 is there, it will print 2, like that. Alright. So this will print the current value of count to the console each time the loop will run. Alright. So the count plus plus is the use for after printing the value of count, it is incremented by 1. Alright. So it works like that. And the loop will terminate when count reaches 6, that is greater than 5. Alright. As the condition count less than equal to 5 will no longer be true, then the loop will break. Okay. So yeah, now I hope you guys understood it. Let's save it and try to run this. As you can see, count is 1, count is 2, count is 3, count is 4, count is 5. So this is a basic example of while loop. As you are starting with while loop, you can try this one. Now let's do a bit more complex example of while loop, in which we will do, basically we will do an example in which we'll continuously accept numbers from the users and we will add them together, and we'll keep a button for the adding thing. So the loop will run until the user enters 0 number. So let's say I'm entering 5, 6, 7, 1, 2 like that, and if I want to add all of these, I just click on 0 and then it will give us the sum of all the numbers that we have typed before. Alright, so let's do this example. Alright, so in this example we'll be using the while loop again so that you guys can understand. Other than that, we'll be taking an input, as I mentioned, we'll be putting an input again and again, and then we'll do the sum. So we want to take the input. So as we know that we have to use import java.util.scanner class. This is the package that we have to include. Then we have to create a scanner object to get the user input. For that, what we'll do is scanner and scanner. So this object, you can name it as your wish, but the other syntax would remain the same. Alright, system.in. Alright, now we will initialize the sum with 0. Initial int integer sum equals to 0. Now declare another variable, let's say number. Now we'll have to start the while loop. To start the while loop, we'll keep the value as true as the boolean value and ask the user to enter a number, okay, inside the while loop, because we want to, I repeat, because we want it to keep on running. Alright, so true, we want it to keep running. Now we'll ask the user to enter a number inside the loop, okay, system.out.println, here enter a number. Okay, now here we'll display another message, or enter 0 to stop it. Okay, alright, so yeah, this is it. Now after this while loop, I mean outside this while loop, not outside, inside this while loop only, we'll have to take the input also, right? So here inside this only we forgot to take the input. Now the number variable that we declared will make use of it, and scanner dot next int. So this is how you take the input, as we already discussed in the previous lectures. So this is how you take the input using this scanner class and all right. So there's a link if you want to refresh that thing. There's a link in below this video if you want to go and check that part in the previous video. All right, now I want to read the user input. So this is how I will read the user input. And if the user inputs enters 0, so for that we have to use the if condition. If number is equal to 0, so double equal to is for equal to operator, single equal to is for assignment operator. Keep in mind that. Okay, so now if number equals to 0, then we will break it. So this break thing is will jump out, basically will jump out of it. We'll be covering break and continue statements in the coming lectures. So right now just understand, to coming out of this loop we'll use break if number is 0. All right, now we will write add the number to sum. We basically want to keep adding the numbers that a user is entering. Okay, for that we use the same thing that we did previously, sum equals to sum plus number. So each of the number that user is entering will add up to it. So here we know that some initial value is 0, so here it is 0. Now let's say user entered 1, so 0 plus 1, then 1 is stored in this. So now sum becomes 1. All right, then again user will enter 3, so 1 plus 3, 4. Now sum becomes 4. Now let's say user enters 5, then 5 plus 4, that is 9. Now sum becomes 9. So this is the theory behind it. So this is how we are adding the numbers to the sum basically. All right, because we have to display the output also, so that is why we are doing it. All right, now coming to the printing part, system dot out dot println. Here we'll first of all the total, will write the total sum is plus operator sum, that is the variable name. All right, so yeah, I think this is what it is. This is pretty much about it. Now let's save it. I hope there are no errors, and else everything is fine. First let's try and then explain to you guys. All right, so enter a number or enter 0 to stop it. All right, so we'll start with, let's say 5, then 7, 8, 2, 9, 7, 6, 5 and 4. And now if I want to stop it and I want to display the result also, the sum of all these numbers, then I'll click on 0 and enter it. So the total sum is 47. So you guys can also calculate if you want to make sure it is doing correct or not. But I believe it is correct, and if we'll do the summation of all these numbers, it will come out to 47. All right, so the code is working correct, right? Now for the guys who haven't understand this thing, so the thing is I'll let you guys understand. So first of all, this is the scanner object. So we use the scanner class to take the input from the user. All right, now here as we can see, we have declared the two variables and we have initialized sum with 0. All right, so we want to take the input also, so we declared another variable number. All right, we are storing the value which user is entering to number. Now the part is here, this is the while loop. So we have used this. So this is what we call as infinite loop or infinite while loop. So we have made the value of while as true. So it will keep on, looping, keep on going. So this loop runs indefinitely until the user enters 0. All right, because we have used if condition to stop it. All right, so this loop will keep on going repeatedly until the user enter a 0. All right, which triggers the break statement over here. All right, as simple as that. Now user input, as we can see, the user input here we are taking. So inside the loop, the program repeatedly asks the user to enter a number. All right, now if number becomes 0, if number is 0, let's say user enters 0, then it will break. And when the user enters 0, the loop breaks and the program stops asking for the input. That's it. That what we made sure with this if condition. Okay. Now if the user enters other numbers, that is summing the numbers. If the user enters any number other than 0, it is added to the sum, all thanks to this. Now printing the result. So after the loop ends, the total sum is printed. So as we can see, we want to print the sum. That is why we are printing it outside the loop. So this is the while loop. We are printing it outside because we want to print the result or the sum. We don't want to print it 5 times. We want to print the sum. Alright. So that is why outside the loop. So the total sum is getting printed like this. So this again is not a very difficult examples. You can try this example. It will help you understand the concept of taking the input from the user also and using the while loop, especially the infinite loop. Alright. So this was about while loop. Now let's move forward and understand the another important concept, which is a do while loop. Alright. Alright, so a do while loop in Java is a type of loop that ensures the code inside it runs at least once, regardless of condition. The key difference between a do while loop and a while loop is the order in which they check the condition. So there's the condition. This is the syntax basically. So first there is a do, then there is a while, and text expression means condition. So you guys don't need to get confused about that. Don't worry about that. Text expression means the condition itself. So now first the code inside the loop is executed. It doesn't matter if the condition is true or false. The code will always run at least once because we have used do. So whatever is inside the do block, it will run. It is not checking any condition. So it doesn't matter if the condition is true or false. The code will always run at least once. Alright. Next, after the code has been executed once, the condition is checked, all thanks to while loop. So after the code has been executed, the condition is checked. This condition is a test to see if the loop should run again or not. If the condition is true, the loop repeats, meaning the code inside the loop will run again. If the condition is false, the loop stops and the program moves to the next part of the code after the loop. Alright. So here do specifies that at least once the program will run, and after that the while will check whether the second time will it run or not. So this condition, that is the test expression, will be applied to the second time. Alright. So in simple terms, a do while loop says first do this task, then check if the condition is met. This structure is particularly useful when you need to perform an action at least once, regardless of whether a condition is met or not. Alright. So this is the main thing behind it. It is also used selectively in the programs. Now let's do an example. Alright. Let's get back to Eclipse. Alright. So we are back on Eclipse. Now let's remove this part. Again, let's do an example of do while loop. So in this example, we will do a program which will print hello world 5 times. But with the help of do while loop, we'll do that. We'll not simply print hello world. Alright. With the help of do while loop, we'll print 5 times hello world. Alright. So let's start. First of all, declaring and initializing the variable int I equals to 1. Let it be like this only. Yeah. Now we will use the do while loop. So first there is do, and inside it we'll basically print something. So what we want to print is hello world. Okay. System.out.println hello world. Alright. So this is the do block. After this, we have to do the increment, that is the updation part. So here only we are doing the increment thing. Alright. So I becomes 2 now. I is initially 1, I plus plus, I becomes 2 now. Alright. Update expression basically it is. Now here we'll use the while. Okay. So I less than 6, or we can use it like this also, as there is syntax for it. I less than 6. Alright, I less than 6, and that's it. So this is the syntax. So first hello world is printed, and then there is an increment, then again it will print. So for 5 times it will print at least. Then at 6th time it will check I should be less than 6. So then it will stop, because then there's a condition. It will not print. Okay. So the first time is the independence. But for the other times, for the 4 next times, it is also the condition is being met, so it will print total 5 times. Alright, so yeah, let's save it first, and now let's try to run this. Hello world, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times it is getting printed. I hope you guys understood the thing behind this do and while loop. So if somebody haven't, I repeat, if somebody doesn't get what I'm telling right now, so the thing is, this statement prints hello world to the console basically. This will happen every time the loop will run. So system.out.println hello world. So this line basically prints hello world to the console each time the loop will run. After printing the counter variable I, that is incremented by 1, that is the update expression. After the body of loop runs, the condition while I less than 6 is evaluated. If I less than 6, the loop repeats, otherwise it stops. In this case, the loop will continue to run as long as I is less than 6. The loop stops when I reaches 6 because the condition I less than 6 becomes false. So this is how it works. So the examples that I just did now, you can also try these examples. That will help you. Alright. Now let me ask you something. Are you ready to take your tech skills to the next level and open doors to new career opportunities? Then our Masters in Computer Science program is perfect for anyone aiming to thrive in the development world. So in this program, you will explore everything from advanced Java to data structure, algorithm design and analysis, full stack development, both front end and back end, system design, and much more. You will develop the in-demand skills needed to stand out and succeed in the competitive tech landscape. Don't wait, click the link in the description and start your journey today. So we have covered the essentials of how loops work, from automating repetitive tasks with the for loop to handling dynamic conditions with the while and do while loops. By mastering these loops, you will be able to write more efficient and streamlined code, making your programming projects much smoother. Also, if you are interested in mastering Java, you can join a free masterclass. The link to register is provided in the description below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content.